All right, so hello everyone, and welcome back to another session of virtual event again to another virtual event of UiPath Community Mumbai chapter. And today we are going to talk about on a very interesting topic and one of the latest updates that I believe many people are exploring. And myself and my co-speaker Arvind, we both are exploring this feature since a quite long time before it was available for general availability, right? So we are going to today talk about UiPath apps, and in UiPath apps, we are going to specifically focus on UiPath VB apps. So there's a new release from UiPath apps product team, wherein now you can write different kind of VB expressions and you can perform more complex operations in apps. So today, throughout these sessions, we are not going to have any PPT or any slides. It's going to be more of a introduction to what VB apps are, what are the latest features that are available in VB apps. So how just before we go ahead, how many of you over here are going to see UiPath apps for the first time? Like you just joined in because you saw something called as UiPath apps and you joined in the session. Who are going to get it introduced themselves for the first time for UiPath apps?
I'm one of them.
Okay, okay. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah. Thank you, boss Saurabh. All right. All right. So, yeah. Now, before we get started and talk about the latest release, I'll just talk about what UiPath Apps is. So, UiPath Apps provides a low-code app development platform for your business enterprise applications. So, it is again like a drag and drop kind of thing as we have in UiPath Studio as well. But it is here we are more focusing on building a front end for the end users. So we build the front end that is easily integrated with the complete UiPath ecosystem. So in UiPath, we have so many different products, data service, integration service, and definitely UiPath Studio, then Action Center, and there are so many different products of UiPath. So UiPath apps allows you to build front end, build enterprise grade applications for your organization and easily integrate with the complete ecosystem of UiPath. So that is what UiPath apps is as a product. Now, in that, people who have worked on UiPath Studio, we know that we used to write VB expressions. It is maybe performing string manipulation, date time manipulation, working with list or working with dictionaries. There are many different kind of things. But now that was not possible to do in UiPath apps initially before this release. But now we can do all that kind of complex operations as well. So now I'll go back to sharing my screen and we'll explore what it is. Okay. So to access UiPath apps, you just need to navigate to cloud.uipath.com, your automation cloud. When you click on these options, you will see an option called as apps. Now, once you do that, just give a second. All right. Once you do that, here you have an option to create a new app. So when you click on create new app, here you will see two options, expression language legacy and VB. VB is basically VB.NET expressions that you can write. So now if you want to build a complex app where you are going to work with different kind of expressions on VB.NET, you have to create a VB app. So you can give it a name, build app, and you can just click on the create button and a VB app will be created. Now I've already created different apps which I'm going to showcase in this session. So we'll just deep dive into that. Now I've created a SIP calculator. Let's see how I have created it, what are the different elements in this, and we'll explore the latest features. Okay. So if you see, it is a single page app. I have created a UI. I have created a SIP calculator that will help me make systematic investments and I can plan my investment. So there are some inputs that I'm taking from user and I'm showing the outputs like invested amount, total value, estimated returns is what we are showing to the user. All right. So now what is different in VB apps? What was different in legacy app? Let's talk about that. So now when I click over here, when I click on this particular label, now invest with amount to invest monthly and number of installments, the multiplication of that is going to give me my total investment amount. So how am I calculating that? Now if I go to text, here if you see there's an option called as open expression editor. Now once I open that, you see I'm able to write a VB expression right here itself. So sorry. So this was not possible initially in the previous release of UiPath apps, but now you can write expressions that can help you perform this arithmetic or any kind of manipulation operations as well. Now, let's see how that expression is written. Now, if I click this particular text box element, I'm having a text box number. You can add control from here. If I go to input, add control, I see an option text box, email, and number. Now, one of the best practices that you should always follow while working on UiPath apps is giving it the right naming conventions. So similarly to how your variables you give the naming conventions, you have to give the correct naming conventions to your control as well, because that is what will help you identify the correct elements, right? So if you see here, you can edit the name. So here it is investment amount that I'm asking. NOIT is number of installments basically. Now, when I come over here and I open this expression editor, first what I have to do is I have to write my page name. That is main page. Dot, it will show me all my controls that are there. So if you see earnings, assessment, and all this different kind of control name. So mine is going to be investment amount. Dot value. So this is how in UiPath VB apps, you can access a value of a particular control during runtime. So let's suppose the user is running the app and you want to access that particular value. You can access it using this method, main page dot investment amount dot value. So I hope this particular syntax it is pretty much simple and I hope that is clear. Now, what I'm doing over here is I'm converting my one value into integer. I'm converting my other value integer. I'm doing the multiplication of that, and then we are displaying it as a string. So we are going to convert dot to string. We are going to use the same VB expressions that we use always, and I'm going to click on save. So this is what is one of the advanced features of VB apps, and I believe that this is the main feature of VB apps, that you can write this kind of custom expressions. I'll take a quick pause over here. Does anyone have any questions related to this or anything that you would like to ask? We'll just take a quick pause before we go ahead. Right. Let me see the chat as well. Okay. So I see no questions in chat. If anyone wants to unmute yourself, please feel free to unmute and ask any questions if you have. Now, along with this, the other feature that is there in UiPath apps is you can create variables and store values in that. You can create different variables of string, boolean, integer, decimal values, and we'll see like what are the different types of variables that we can create. I'm just going to, it is saving the changes. I'm going to preview this app. All right. So if I go to app variables, you can create a app variable as simple as you have to just click the plus icon. So you can click the plus icon here, you can give the variable name, and these are the different types of variables that you can create. Apps file, array, choice set, country data, data table, date only, etc., decimal number, double, quote, integer list, and all that different system user, whole number, whatever you want to create. Once you create, if you see I'm passing the data over here. Like I can use a VB expression to write datetime dot now dot to string or any other VB expression that I'm using. If I only want to display the date, I can write functions in this way, like new system dot date only, and I can specify whatever date I want to display. So if you see over here, here I'm specifying date time, that is the current date time. Here I'm specifying only the date. So that is how you can use different VB functions. Now, when it comes to dropdown, now what I have done is I have created a variable of type array. So this is array of string. All right. So this is array of string, as you can see, and the syntax to convert your array of string into a list source so that it displays the data in a dropdown is this following syntax. So on UiPath documentation as well, you will find a lot of documentation that will help you learn about how to write different VB expressions. So if you just go to docs.uipath.com, search for app, and you will be getting that particular answer, right? So that's about how to convert a array into a list. But now I've created this array variable. Where am I initializing it? So if I go to my main page, on when the page is getting loaded, okay. So when the page is getting loaded, here I'm initializing my array. So if you see where array in the expression, I have given new array of strings, India, Australia, Chicago is what I'm giving. And that same is being visible over here. Okay, so if you see, the value is selected, and as soon as I select the value, I'm displaying it in the label over here. So that is another thing. We could do all these things before as well. This drop down, we could not create the variables, but we could display the drop down selected value. But now it has become more simpler. So now if I go to expression, if I go over here, like I said, page name, drop down, that is my control name. Since it is a drop down, I'm going to select like selected item and then dot to string. So it will display the selected value. Now, what if I want to create a list? Now for list, the syntax is little different. If you see here, instead of creating a list variable, what I've done is I've defaulted the list values over here itself. So if you see new list of string from, I'm providing my list items, and then again, the initial syntax remains the same. App data source dot from, and then we are specifying the list of values. So both the things are working similarly only. If I select a product, you see UiPath Action Center. Now both these values in the drop down are same. If I just change the values, it will be same. But the way that I'm passing it is different. So that is how you can use different kind of variables, that is list and array, in UiPath app. So the main idea to show this particular thing was you can create app variables now and you can display the data. Again, taking a quick pause if anyone has any questions or would like to highlight or ask anything. If not, we'll go ahead. How many of you, like the people who are learning about UiPath apps for the first time or who are already exploring it, how helpful or how interesting do you find this particular feature that we are just exploring right now, like writing VB expression in apps, developing apps with such an ease for our RPA processes? Do you have anything to say on that or any feedback on that?
Quite good and easy to like use these expressions to develop the lists and application components. I'll say
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you. Anyone else who is already exploring this particular product and wants to share anything on that? Maybe a quick, one or two liner, anything that you want to talk about. If not, no problem. We'll go ahead. We have many more things to explore as well. Even Arvind has interesting use cases to talk and share about. So, yeah. Now, coming to the SAP calculator app again, I'll preview it and I'll just show the functionalities of it. Like, what I have built and what kind of complex expression I have written. I'll show that as well. Okay. So amount to invest, I'm going to put 5,000. Number of installment 24. This is in months, obviously. Like since I'm taking amount to invest monthly, number of installment 24, that is 24 months. Now, expected rate of return, I have to select, like I will select, let's suppose 10%. So if you see investment amount is going to be 1,20,000. Total value is going to be 1,26,454 over the period of 2 years. Now, what is my returns that I'm getting? Estimated returns. That is 6,454. So all these things. Now, initially in Legacy app, when we wanted to do some this kind of complex thing, we had to run a process to do this calculation and then pass the value in output arguments and access it and display it. But now you don't have to do that. So here you can write the expressions simply. Now, if I just show the expression over here, this is my expressions that I have written. Now, what I could have done is I could have added them to the variable as well. Like this particular value, if I'm going to use this again and again, like I've used it over here, or I'm going to use it somewhere else, I could have just added it or assigned it to the variable based on when the value is changing in the text box, and I could have used it over here as well. But what I wanted to do is understand that how I can write complex expressions, like whether it is going to work fine or not, because using variables will make the expression simple. So what if I want to write more complex expressions for some other processes as well? That is what I wanted to test over here. So that is the reason you see this long expression over here. Now estimated returns, again, I could have just used main page dot the above value minus the below value. But again, here I have combined the two expressions of the invested amount and estimated returns to calculate what is the difference between that, so that I get to know about the estimated return. So this is how about we go of writing complex expressions in VB apps. So this was another example of how complex expressions that you can write in UiPath VB apps. All right, just give me a second. All right, I saw just there were some messages on the chat, so I was just reading that. It is really faster to develop compared to yes. Please let us know what you are. Lucifer says game changer. Okay, thank you guys. Now, one more thing that I'm going to show. We all saw that we have this expression editor over there. Now there is something also called as query editor. So now query builder. So now when you are working with UiPath VB apps, right? You want to display the data in your app, which can be little complex as well, right? So I'm going to open another app for that. Mhm. Just give me a second. So this is an app that I had very recently created. That is a to-do list app. So I'm just going to preview it and show you guys like what it is and how I have created it. It has a lot of different kind of features, this particular app. Okay. So now this is a to-do list. Basically, what a to-do list is that you can add what task you are going to perform today, tomorrow, or the day after that, right? So to-do list has nothing to do with the dates that have gone previously. So now if you see, if I select a date that has already passed, it shows a message that selected date to add task is greater than or equal to current date, right? So you cannot add that because it is a past date. So you cannot add a task on a past date. So that is the error message that I've given, a custom error message. Now, if it is a valid date, then only it is showing me these two controls, add task and view task. Now, if I click view task, there is no task for this particular date. So it is showing no data. If I select some other date, I click on view task, you see the data is visible over here. Record a video on UiPath VB apps, attend UiPath Mumbai community virtual event, which we are doing right now. So this is something that I had added yesterday, right? So this is how the to-do list app has been created, right? Now, if I want to add task, I can add task and I can write exploring VB apps latest features and I can submit. So once you submit it, it says that your task has been added successfully. And again, the below options that we were getting of add task just got removed. So you see there is another task that we have added over here, exploring VB apps latest features. And here we are only displaying the date. So here I'm displaying, first of all, I'm only displaying the date and I'm only displaying the task of the selected date over here. How that is happening? Let's go over here. So if I click on a table control and I have an option called as query builder. So we all have worked with filter data table activity. Something similar is over here as well. Now, if you see my task date in my entity that I have created. So I have an entity which is to do data. It has two column task and task date. Task is basically what task I'm going to perform. Task date is the date, obviously. Now, when I go over here, there is a query builder. I'm writing task date is equals to main page dot task dot value. So what I'm saying to this particular expression is whatever value is selected over here, check that with this particular condition. Task date equal to main page dot task date dot value created by dot email. Now I obviously only want to show the tasks that are created by me because it is possible that this app is being used by many people, right? So this is what we are going to do over here. Equal to get the current email of the user who is using the system, we have user context dot user dot current user dot email is what my expression is to get the email of the current user. Now, this is how I've created a condition to display my data. Now, when I open the expression editor, this expression is completely auto-generated. So whatever you do in query expression editor will automatically generate a query over here. But if you edit something over here, then you cannot go back to that place because this is auto-generated, right? So that is how this query expression editor is useful when you want to display data with many conditions, right? One more addition that I could do to this particular app is here I could add the status as well of the task, right? So once I add the status, it is pending or it is completed. So what I can do is I can select this particular task. If I've completed it, that I can then I can mark it as completed, right? And when if the task is not completed, I can just keep it as it is. So you can also create a dashboard based on a selected date, how many tasks that you added, how many that you completed. That is something like a dashboard that you can create because now calculations is going to become a lot easier, right? So that is what you can do over in this particular app. So this could be a add-on to your app that you can add. Now when I come back over here, right? So Piyush has a question that can you explain all the parameters of query filter expression? So Piyush, I haven't myself, you know, explored this syntax of this particular expressions. Like I believe using the query editor is much simpler. So I will not spend time in learning this complex expressions that I see on the screen right now. So like I'm not sure what specifically you are trying to look, but I think Arvind has also explored that part and he's going to talk a little bit about that in his presentation as well. So if that question gets covered over there, then it's fine, or else we both will have to explore from UiPath documentation. Because the reason of introducing the query expression editor is you don't have to write these complex expressions, especially when working with tables or that kind of data. So yeah, that's it. Like on the expression front, we cannot go into the syntax detail. We can go into the syntax detail if it is a VB expressions that similarly that we write in UiPath Studio as well. So yeah, I'll take a quick pause over here. If anyone has any questions or would like to share or ask anything, please feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. or else we'll go forward ahead. Or if there is any feature that you want me to talk about again or ask about a capability in UiPath apps, please feel free to ask that as well. Also, I see in chat that Atishi, you have mentioned that there are still some limitations. Can you just unmute and talk about it, like what you were trying to implement and what you couldn't achieve? Maybe that could help everyone in the session.
Yeah, hi Parth. So I'm
Yes.
designing the one of the project for my client, and that is related for the financial application. So
Okay.
and we wanted to remove the database and using the data services. And in data services, we need a required some calculation. So I just give the background about it. So it's called a
Okay.
I can give the background because it's all the financial organization are using the revenue sharing application.
Right.
So we
Right.
wanted to design the revenue sharing application, and they needed so much calculation. Suppose I can give the example. Suppose we have a one table called town data table. In town data table, we have a in data services we have an n number of entities. Those
Right.
using those entities we need to calculate some amount and then calculate that, and we wanted to show into the application in the table. So we cannot achieve using the still we cannot achieve using the VB expression. Suppose we have a three columns in data services and then we wanted to create a fourth column. So the calculation using the those three columns will be create a fourth column. So
Okay.
these things we don't have. So I have raised the one enhancement in data service itself, that they can provide the one calculation field. So we can
Right.
calculate into the in data service only. We don't need to calculate into the UiPath app. So this insight I have already provided to UiPath
Okay.
team. Yeah,
Okay, so you are saying that if there is a column A and column B, both has some values, you want to use those values and calculate a value for column C.
be correct. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I think, yeah, you cannot dynamically create columns right now in data service from apps. We could just reuse the columns which are already there. But yeah, I think makes a good point.
So this kind of like the way what you are looking, I think this is something a kind of advanced operation on data service, and I think data service team already knows about that because this data service does not perform any kind of advanced operations right now. But we have already, so this is not a kind of limitation from app side. This is a kind of limitation from data
Data
service,
service.
and obviously it is. So, and we have already spoken to, I think, your path apps team. They are coming up with kind of a custom column. So what you can do, like when you are designing custom list, or you can say edit grid or something like that in the front end, you can add an custom column, and in the custom column you can write your aggregates and you can write your operations into VB expressions. And suppose you have two columns and you want to display the calculation of two columns on third column, so you can just do into the front end. So I think that that is on the way.
Okay. Thanks, Arvind.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Atishay. I see Arvind has already answered few questions in the chat, but yeah, one was, can we generate the expressions here and use the same in UiPath Studio? I think you should do the vice versa. You should generate them in UiPath Studio or write expressions over there and try to use them over here. Because the VB expressions in UiPath Studio are obviously going to be robust. Whatever you write, you will be able to see runtime errors as well. If there is any kind of errors, then you can use it over here as well. So I think you should do the opposite, Sai Prasad, and see if that expressions are working over here or not. So yeah, I think that is pretty much from my end. Arvind, now I will hand it over to you so that you can share some of the use cases that you built. So, like before Arvind starts, right? Just can we create mobile template and web expressions by using UiPath apps? Yeah, I think you can do it right now. If you see, if you see this particular app, it will look almost similar in my mobile as well. Like there wouldn't be much difference. So it's all on how you design your app, like how you build the UI. Because execution, Arvind, correct me if I'm wrong. Even if I access this app from a tab, I will be able to run any process that I'm running on a click of a button. So it's about how you build the UI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically you have to make sure like you have to use container and then container with the 100% and then make sure wrap the container also. So in that case, what happens if your container is more, you can just wrap it. So suppose if you have one container and you are giving 3 container inside, might that break, right? So allow wrapping and give one container 100%, and that way you can just make sure everything works on mobile.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of having this particular session that we have right now is to just show all the different kind of features and different kind of implementations that we are doing in VB apps. They might sound on a very fundamental level, right? Because that is what we are planning. We just want to introduce you to what VB apps are, how you can design apps, how you can build different kind of features. In future, we will be definitely having more sessions where we are working on complex apps or building apps live during the sessions as well. But yeah, so today feel free to ask any questions that you have with respect to VB apps of how we are building, what we are doing, and then kind of things. So yeah, over to you, Arvind. Now I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. So I will go and share my screen. Thank you. Thank you, Parth, for introduction of VB apps, and I will go through the some use cases, which is moreover like kind of data service. You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, so we'll go through some of the use case, which is basically we'll talk how to deal with data service integration with VB apps and maybe some of the new control, which is kind of edit create control, how we work on edit create control. And few things has been changed really drastically here into UiPath VB apps. Because if you have huge legacy app, there is a data context. So when you populate the data, you can easily write a lookup filters and everything, and you can set the data on data context, right? And then you can get the data through data service, and then what you can do, you can set the default value, maybe some view request or something, so you can display the data which is already there into your backend. So we'll go through one by one and see how it has been done here. So for that, like already Parth is showed like how to create VB apps, so I'm not going to do that. So let's go one by one. So this is kind of one of the demo request application. And this demo request application will see how it works with the edit grid, and then we'll see how we will reuse the single forms with update, view, and new request. So let me show you something. So this is kind of a main page, and in main page we have kind of this is kind of page backgrounds, and then I have just made kind of a header and footers, and then this is kind of expression here I'm writing, like I want to display the name of the users here. So I think already Parth showed you, like you can just go and write here current user dot display. So you are saying like user context, so you can say user context dot current user, and then maybe you can say users and you get the details and everything. But either you can say that current user dot display name, so you can directly get the kind of, let me show you the display name of the current user. And then we have many more other features, like you can get the emails and you can get the first name, last name, and whether it is there into some groups and all, you can just go and check that also, right? So this is kind of one header and footer, and then I have a kind of edit grid. So what exactly edit grid is? Edit grid is like I don't recommend edit grid if you have a kind of a very large application, because if you have only few application, 4 to 5 kind of input data, and then just capture the input data, it's very fantastic for that. But if you have a large application, if you want to capture the data, then you will have to go maybe in a kind of a new page approach, and then you get the data and capture the data, because otherwise you will get kind of lot of confusions, and then you will have to scroll here and there. So I recommend personally, if you have a big application, maybe you can just go with a new request, and then if you have a small application, then maybe you can go with the edit grid. And then edit grid has a lot of other features, like if you see here, like you can go to query builder, and then you can directly go to demo request, and then you can just like select the entity, like whatever entity you have, and then you can add the filter XYZ, and then you can go into advanced condition, and then you have a lot of other features, which is kind of indexing, and then page limits and everything, because I can say this edit grid supports kind of sortings, search, and then you can say paginations, right? So the moment you generate this kind of expression, so this expression, what it is nothing, it is just by kind of fetch, and then in fetch you can say pass the entity name, and then you will have to create filter, and this filter is a kind of nothing, it's a kind of a group of filter, and then this filter you have a query filter, and then you can add multiple filter here, like as you keep adding into multiple filter, it will work as it is. So like if you see add filter, we have a search columns, and search columns is something auto generated, which is you can search here, and then you can search the records based on the search terms and everything. Like this is kind of default kind of control. And then similarly we have pagination, and then you have sort option, and then you have expansion field, like you can expand the kind of filters and everything. And similarly I have other filters, so this is also kind of generated, and then you can just go and enable and disable the kind of search and add row, delete rows and everything. So you can see here right now in my demo request, I don't have search. So what you can go and search, and you can make it true, right? So now if I preview this, so let's see now, once I preview, my search got enabled, and then in search, what you can see, you can enable all the kind of field which you want to search, and then based on that you can select the field name, and then you can search the data from here. And then you have something called these three icons, you can see, like add, edit, and remove. You can just go and add the data, and then the moment if you add, you will see there are another button, update it or cancel it. So if you just fill it some information, and you can just update it, otherwise you can just edit and cancel it, right? And either at the runtime you can hide also, like similar to search button. So let's go for kind of add a new record. You can say demo last name, and you can say just add few more other control, which is kind of drop down. I can say 15, or maybe you can say 30 minutes, and just update. So it will create another records here. So now you can see there are two records, right? Similarly, you can edit and update everything. So what you can do, you have something called events. An event is something which is talk morely with the kind of what exactly you are performing the operations on the front end. And this has something called select event, add event, and modified and delete. So these four events right now supported with edit grid. So the moment you select, you can just transfer the data, or you can just show the message, or if you have to do certain operation, you can write. So right now what I have done, I have a kind of entity app variables, and I have just passed the selected value to the entity app variable. So if you see here, main.page.edit grid.selected item. So it will just pass whole row, selected row, rather than just passing one by one column value, right? And then you can play around this entity object at the front end. So I will show you how we have done that. Similarly, we have row added. The moment you add the row, then you can just go and earlier it was very tough, like you have to drag and drop, and sometimes maybe you can just miss out the dragging and dropping here and there, and it was not a kind of a copy paste earlier. So now what you can do, you can easily go, and then you can say main page dot edit grid dot new item. So if you have a new record, like if you want to go into new, so every time you have to go main page or whatever page you are, dot edit grid dot new item. So for new record, you have to always go with new item, and then you can say what exactly you want to do. So now I have a duration. Duration is nothing, it is a kind of a drop down. So I will pass the ID. So you can see, I've just said like the edit grid new item duration, and then whatever ID of the main duration. So it will save. But if you have a normal plain text or something, you can say directly main page dot edit grid dot new item dot emails. So that's how you can just save, and then once it is created, you can show some message and everything. So it's a similar to legacy app. And then similar to row modified, like earlier, if you remember, there was a create and update one rule for entity. Now they come up with two rules. So now we have create entity records different and update entity records and another rule, right? So what you can do in the update, what you can do, like let's say here, if you have update entity record, so the moment you go and select the demo request, so now you can pass the ID, right? So what I have done here, like main page dot edit grid dot selected item dot ID, because whatever I have selected, I have to pass the ID. So based on that ID, it will update the record, right? And similarly, what you can do in this just value, all the values selected to pass the to save the data into backend. What you can say there, rather than new item, you can say selected item dot particular variables like field name, right? That's it. So this is just a kind of new modify. And then similarly, if you come for edit delete record, so what you can do, you can just say selected item dot ID, and then you can just pass the ID, and it will delete the record from the table itself, entity record itself. So this is all about kind of I can say edit grid. So do you have any questions on edit grid? Before that, I can move to the another forms and everything. Anyone?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it edit grid available? Like it's also table control, or edit grid
Table
replaces the table
control is
control?
different. Edit grid control is different. So let me go and show you. This is edit grid control display, and this is table control. So it will work similarly, but table control do not have a features of kind of sorting or search, or maybe you add a new record, delete or edit record. So you have to go in a different approach, right? But edit grid will allow you to inline operations of everything. Okay.
And what was you suggesting before that we shouldn't use edit grid when we use large amount of
So
data?
I would say,
Or-
like, if you have a big application forms, like if you have a lot of user entry, right? So a lot of validations and everything, I would not recommend to use it, because again, that time you have to lot of manual entry, then validations, so hide fields and everything. So that time, what you can do, you can just use another forms, and then you can capture the data, right? But if you have a normal application, maybe just simple application, there are only 4 to 5 fields, and then you want quickly just go and use this. So maybe I would say like a kind of lookup tables, or maybe you can say master data records. So suppose you have an application, are using a lot of master record, like kind of country, county, state, or maybe you can say customer records and everything. So for that one, you can just use this kind of edit grid, and then you can enable inline edit and inline records. And so that's how kind of we can save the development times and everything. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So before that, if you don't have any questions, I would say, like, we have something called a review page, and in this review page, if you see this, I have created a lot of controls, and then I have save button, update, and cancel button. But what I want to do, like, I want to save the records also, I want to update the record also, and I want to display the record also on the same console. So what I have done, if you see this one, this demo request, this is kind of a entity type object app variable. So what happened in entity type object variable, the moment if you add any entity, your entity by default will come under type of variable. So I added demo duration or demo request. So you can see this demo request and demo duration. So what you can do, you can give the variable name just for maybe identifications. You can just give some different variable names. So what always I said, give var underscore demo request, and then you can select the particular entity name here from this drop down, and then you can create a variable, right? So this variable, what I'm doing, I'm trying to transfer the value once it is selected, right? So the row is selected, I'm just trying to pass var demo request, I'm trying to pass the selected row, selected item here, right? So now, once the moment I select this, I will have a kind of complete row in this entity type. And now what we can do, you can use this app variable across the apps, like across the pages. So it is not something kind of page initialize and then just uh, destroy the data kind of approach. So this app variable you can use across the application, across the app. So you can create a number of page and you can use that. So now if you see this one, what I'm trying to do here into review page, I have a header, and in header, what I'm trying to do, if length of variable demo request equal to 0, then you can tell that new request details. Otherwise, you can say review request details, correct? So if length is 0, then you can say new request, otherwise you can say review request. So how simple it is. You can just write the expression, review expression, and you can very simple. You can write and you can enable the codes and everything's here now. Similarly, I have here save method, and in save method, what I am trying to do, let me show you, hide it. So if length of var request equal to 0, then false, otherwise true. So I'm just trying to make some kind of hide and show based on the variable field and value. Similarly, I'm saying if length of var request greater than 0, this means we have update. So update will enable, otherwise we are hiding the update buttons, right? So one kind of page we are using for create, update, and delete. So now if you go to save, I'm just writing here. Similarly, similar rule, like which I showed you into the edit grid. So I'm just selecting the entity name and then just mapping everything. When created, you can just do some customization here also. You can write the VB expression code, and then you can show the message, and then I'm going back to the kind of another page, like main page. And then you can do write VB expressions here as well. So you can write VB expressions everywhere in general events, rather except a style. A style do not support VB expression right now. Okay. Similarly, we have update. In update, I'm just writing everything for update, and then on updated, just completed everything and then go back, right? The interesting part is like suppose I have a kind of this app and I want to display the moment I load this, I want to show kind of name of my kind of input data, which is already saved into background. So let's go new request. So you can see there is nothing in the front end because this is completely new request. So I'm just going for new request save. Let's go to cancel. Now I want to go to edit it, right? So I can say view request. And see here, I'm just displaying all the pre-filled data. So how can we do that? Because earlier we were using data context, and through data context, we were using just displaying all the value, right? And data context was majorly kind of a page label. Once your page initialized, data context get initialized. When your page closed, get destroyed. But this is something which is never get destroyed until unless once you initialize till your apps is open. So this is called app variable, right? So now let's go to first name, go to general, and I want to display the default text. So what I have done, see this var request dot first name. So it will display my input from that one, like selected value. Similarly, I have said var request dot last name. The good things like if you have a drop down or maybe you say multi-select or anything else, so how can we do that? Because if you remember earlier how we were doing, we were writing lookup, and then based on the lookup, we were getting the ID based on the title value or something. If you remember, so similarly, what I have done, like if you go to default selected, what you need to do, review page dot duration. This is kind of duration is that particular control dot data source dot data where function item. This is kind of object where passing. So this will loop till the item dot id dot value till this item found, where dot demo request kind of that app variable dot duration. This is another duration dot id dot value, first or default. So basically this will go into particular data source. It will loop until this find from this id value find till this record, right? till the whatever selected records ID is there. And then it will display the first or default. So it will display the record. So if you see here, I'm just displaying 15 minutes intro call, right? So so for that one, if you write directly review page, or maybe you can say var underscore demo request dot duration, it will not work. So basically, because this is a n number of fields, so what you have to do, you have to go and find out the exactly what you want to display, and then that's how you can display the records here. So this is completely all. Now if you go and see this, I can go and go to cancel. And then if you go to new request, you can just capture the data, you can save it. And once you save, it will come back. Now you see there are 3 records. And now if you go and demo, and if you see view, you can see the demo last name, and all the details which I have filled, right? So this is all about kind of basic idea how we use kind of edit grid, and then how we save the data, how to display the data in the front end, how to use app variables life cycle across the apps and everything. So now any questions, maybe we can talk through that. I will pause here.
Yeah. So data context isn't available now. It has been deleted from UiPath apps. Could you show
Exactly.
again how do you populate the values in var demo request? Because
Can you come again?
I couldn't capture. How do you capture the elements that var demo request has to save, so you can show it in the review page? Because I didn't understand how you
Okay,
how
so
you select this
let
value.
me show you something. Let's go here and create one variable. So let's say variable, I will say var underscore, I can say maybe I can say
UiPath session.
UiPath session, great, UiPath session. And then what you need to do, you need to select the type of entity, right? So basically, what kind of entity you have. Until so you remember, until unless if you don't add any entity, you will not see the entity type here. So now I have added 2 entities, demo duration and demo request. So I will select my main entity demo request here. So now I created this app variable var dot underscore UiPath session, right? So what you can do anywhere. Either you can do on page initialization, either you can do on change of the method. But what I'm doing on select. So here, if you go on select, what you can do, go to this set value, and then you can say var underscore UiPath session, right? And then what you want to transfer into that. So what you can say, main page dot edit grid dot edit grid dot selected item dot selected item. Okay, so this will transfer all the selected current row. It will not select only column wise, it will select complete row as an object. Okay,
Okay,
clear?
now I understand.
So now
Now I
this will
understand.
transfer completely selected row, all the value in an entity object. So this entity app variable will have always one record. So now when I go into this review page, let's go to first name. Or so what you can do, you can delete this, and you can say var underscore UiPath session dot first name. That's it. So now you can just go and preview. Because the reason why they have made it live, because this is very much easy for us now, because data context was something like once initialized, data value will be there. Once your page get moved, or you can say closed, the value of data context will get destroyed. But for this one, it will never get destroyed until unless your app is open. Okay, so now if I go and select demo, and if I say view request, see, it is here now. Cool.
I think I saw when you try to create a new request, it added information without. Could you try just to add a new request but without information, like totally blank?
Okay, let's say
Like, yeah,
let's say if you have added kind of UI path session, and then I can say 12 used something like that. I will just add two record and then I will save it. Then it go back here. Now you have UiPath session, right? And then I will say view request. See UiPath session Tuesday, and then all the details will come. Okay.
in duration you always have value just because it's like mandatory or something
Which one?
because of drop down list
Duration.
in duration.
Duration we can clear it out. Maybe that is coming because we don't have a blank value. Maybe we can set as a blank.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, sometimes in
yeah, we can
drop
set
down
it
list
as
you
a
always
blank.
have like a first value that is just like select
Yeah,
something
we
like
can
that.
clear the data if maybe it will never come.
Yeah, it's definitely manageable.
If you just update like 45 days and just go and say update, and now if we go here again, UiPath session and then say view request, see 45 days now.
Yeah, okay. That's great. I have a last question in an overall. I have an app, substantial app, and now I would rather to work with VB expressions. Is there a way I can export that app from legacy to VB expression?
So you cannot export the app and you can convert directly into VB expressions right now because it doesn't support. So UiPath is coming up with a tool, and that tool like you can use for kind of migration of the apps, and then you can migrate the app from legacy to VB apps. But they're working on it right now. But only way is like you can go manually and you can build into UiPath VB apps.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess it's going to help me to practice, and it's faster now that I can copy paste some.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually talked to you yesterday, Parth. I'm the one that
Yeah,
contacted
yeah,
you
yeah.
through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
think I figured that out. So I'm like, it's good.
yeah, I'm very enthusiastic about it. I definitely want to get more into it.
All right. All right. No, it's good. Okay. Yeah, I think we are pretty much towards the end of the session. Arvind, do you have anything else to share, or shall we open up for questions, if any?
I think we can open for questions now.
Okay, then let's see if anyone else has any type of questions. We can cover that, or else we can end this session.
I have a question. It's Sukanya.
Yes, Sukanya, please go ahead.
Yeah. So in UiPath apps, we have a filter option, right? We can filter out data, and we can give one particular column, and we can filter the data based on the column value. So
Mhm.
I want a feature where we can add a multiple columns option as well. So here only one column we are assigning for the filter, right? I want it to be multiple columns. So we can select a column, and then in the next input box, the value of that particular column which we have selected earlier should be appeared. So can we do that?
So are you talking about the search functionality that Arvind was showing, or in the table, the data that we display, they're adding multiple columns?
Yes, in the table actually. So I want to filter out the data in the table, and I want multiple column filtration.
Right. I think that we can do that. Arvind, can you just show that query expression editor since you are already sharing the screen?
So right now you can select the columns and you can do, but what you want to do, you can just turn off and then
No, no.
you do.
So she's asking about the query expression editor where we put end conditions and all that for a
Okay.
normal table.
So let's go here and then
I think I can share screen. I have that in to-do list.
You can go to
Yeah, over here.
QDB. And then you can write the condition here, like
And you can select another
exactly,
field.
you can select the filter, email should be something, or maybe you can say created by name or something. Again, you can add multiple condition. So it will work exactly based on those conditions and everything, and you can just write it down. Okay.
Okay, so these are the values, column values we can add.
Yes.
Exactly. So what you can do, you can maybe on the top, you can create some kind of control, and then
Mhm.
this is something you are saying this contains or something may be in or something, and then you can runtime value, you can select from the particular control value, right? So you can say something like from maybe another input control, or maybe you can say another kind of variables or something like that. So you can just pass it out and you can do that.
Okay, yes, got it. And I had one more question. So we have a requirement in the table data for each row. There should be one PDF attached. So I'm working on invoice data extraction. So each row consists of data, sum of data, invoice data, and that invoice should be added as an attachment in that particular row itself. So we can do that as well, right?
Yeah, you can do,
Yeah.
you can save the attachment into data service and you can display the name on the front end. But if you want to just kind of populate or download, you can write the kind of another rules and you can just show into PDF viewers or something like that.
Okay. So
Because
I want
if you go
wanted
to
it to
data
be
service,
controlled from the studio actually. So we have an activity, I guess, to upload a file in data
yeah,
services. So using that, I will be able to attach it, right, into
yep,
the rows.
you can do that. So let me show you something. You can go to any of the entity, maybe you can say demo request, create
Okay.
field,
Hmm.
and then you can select the type. Type should be
Type
kind of
file.
file here. That's it.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I got it. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else?
This session is getting recorded, right? We can
Yep.
find the recording as well.
Yep. Yep. It will be uploaded on the same link where you registered.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, hi Arvind. Have you tried converting data service to data table variable?
Not yet. I have not tried.
Because like earlier we got that question, right? To we have two columns in a data service and we can show combine that data and show a third column. So I was just thinking if we can convert the data service data into a data table and add a new column, use the expression method, will we be able to represent that into a new third
Maybe
column?
I'm not sure like how like we'll have to see whether data table of support concatenate and those kind of operation or something. We'll have to see that. If that works, then I think well and good.
So, but here the data table variable that's is in general the data table type in Studio, right?
Yeah. I
Okay,
have not tried actually. Maybe we can look for that.
cool.
Yeah. Anyone else having any other questions? And yeah, the session is being recorded. It will be available on the same link where you have registered for the event, and we'll be soon coming up with more other events as well. Arvind, also, I'll just share screen.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
All right. And yeah, we are also coming up with another event on September 21 that is about process mining. So I'll just share the link over here as well, or you can just search for UiPath Community Mumbai chapter and you will get that link. So even if you want to explore about process mining and what the product is, please feel free to register for the event and attend it. It is happening on September 21st. Again, the timings are going to be the same. So yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to highlight. And I hope the session helped everyone and everyone found it interesting to learn about UiPath. VB apps will try to have more sessions where we cover more complex things as well, because since it is a new product and new feature. Myself and Arvind, we are also exploring it proactively. So yeah, but soon we'll have other sessions as well. All right. So if no questions, then we can end the session. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.